Hi, good morning, Friday. Don't you dare Topsnap. Really want to do that. I really don't like to fiddle. But since I got 32 gigs in my hand and I'm talking to no one, I gotta have intro. It just makes it easier. Just do the intro. Snap your topper. Don't snop your tap. I hate when I drink too much coffee in the morning. God damn. I'm gonna put music to it. I really want to do that. I put an intro in here and then it just flows. So magically delicious. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. If my voice is too loud, sorry about that. This is Tycho. Awake is the name of the song, I believe, and also the name of the album, if I'm not mistaken. Wake up, get your stuff done. I'm sorry if I was blasting you out. Just for me. All right, well, who's ever holding on to this podcast and hanging out, I appreciate you tremendously. It is hard to get a viewership. It is tremendously hard to get a viewership. I know, because I'm trying to get one with you guys. Topsnap Podcast here. This is October. What are we here? We'll just have Tycho playing in the background if you don't mind, because it's so nice. October 26th. And so we're ending the end of our month here. Halloween's right ahead. There's another thing. I had so much planned to come on this show and do so much and show you everything that was going on besides my airsoft gun sitting here on the table. Second Amendment Act might have to be enforced. And I just reposted something on Instagram, and one of my buddies, Kasim, I call him a buddy. He's been on the podcast a couple times. We don't really hang out outside the podcast. So we've met up a couple times, but I consider him a friend. And you know, he was a little bit, to quote him verbatim, I think he was a little bit disappointed in me for some terminology, or maybe just kind of an outlook I might have on ICE, which is I don't even know what the acronym is. I know it's a law enforcement agency directed behind the immigration protocols that the United States are trying to implement, or have implemented, or have statute in the law books. And so ICE is here to enforce that. And so it has to be something with immigration, right? ICE. So so this brings me to the point. So Anna Paulina, I believe is her name. She's been on like Colion Noir's channel, I believe, who's a NRA spokesperson. He's from Texas. He's real funny guy, so check him out on the channel. But on his channel, Colion Noir, COLOIOIN or ION? I think it's ION. COLION. Anyways, Anna Paulina, she posted this Instagram pic, and I reposted it, and then I put some stuff about my grandparents coming from Mexico. In fact, on my dad's side, like my mom, my grandmother, and my grandfather were both from Chihuahua, Mexico. My great-grandfather was from Chihuahua. I have a lot of photos, and I do a lot of information searching for what my family was all about. I knew my grandfather until I was about 13 years old when he passed in 1987. And I listened to the stories that him and my uncles, he was the eldest out of, I think, oh boy, I think there was like 10 of them. There's a gang. I got a picture of all him and his brothers and sisters. There's a lot of them. And so I have a very, very big family because my grandfather had a lot of brothers and sisters who in turn had a lot of kids. So my dad has a ton of cousins out there and a ton of uncles and aunts. So my family has expanded huge. And there are a lot of deep Mexican roots in my family. So I don't believe that because my Mexican roots run so deep that I can bash my own culture or bash anything about my lineage. That's not the point. The point is that now in this day and age we have, for instance, this conflict where we have, or I call it a conflict because if conflict of interest, let's just say that, we have interest to keep our border safe, meaning that no one just can come in and out, and there's a process. And there's a lot of folks that think that that's, I guess, inhibiting people who are trying to reach asylum. They're in a bad part of the world, and they're trying to get to somewhere where they can raise their family and their kids without the threat of hell. And where are they going? They're coming here, United States. So that should let some people in on a little something when I hear so many of these groups talk shit on the United States. I get it, we're not perfect. It's run by people, and some policies are archaic. In some way, the ways and methods of certain things like the Electoral College and certain things, yes, they can be improved on and they can be changed. Bring the ideas. Start the conversation. Other than that, all in all, for better or for worse, it's the best system out there in the world so far. I mean, why are a lot of these 7,000, 8,000 people slowly accumulating? You know how when crowds happen, man. They might not even know why the crowd is walking down the street. They just want to get in on the action because there's nothing better to do. And these people are coming in up from Guatemala, and this is a collection. More and more people are starting to collect on this caravan coming up to the United States through Mexico. And so now this is becoming kind of like a hot topic. Do we let these people in for asylum? Because we've let so many other people in from asylum. You know, again, any person of ethnic values, like ethnic, I say ethnic value as like a value percentage, like how much ethnicity do you have in your system, you know, in your genetic system. So are you really ethnic? If you are, I find that, I don't know if it's more or less that ethnics are getting a little frazzled by the outlook on people just coming into the country. There's a lot of ethnic groups like my grandfather, like I stated in my Instagram post. My grandfather used to call like the wetbacks beaners and wetbacks. Like he used to call them wetbacks. Like he didn't want the bad people, like he called them, to come over to the United States, even though he didn't think that the people who were wetbacks were bad necessarily, because my grandmother was a wetback. She died in an illegal, she was never here with a green card in the United States. She died at 96 in East LA. She had 7 children. There you go. And all those children grew up to be very, very good contributors to their communities, to the public, to the United States, to even other countries. My aunts and uncles they're all real smart. They've all given. Like we're talking principals and teachers. We're talking about heads of major corporations. We're talking about community leaders. There's a lot of influential, a lot of things that happened from my grandmother giving birth to these 7 people, my dad being one of them. And then my dad went on with my mom to start this business that we had and have. And it's like a culmination of all these different things, you know? So I understand when somebody would say, well, if your grandmother was an illegal alien and she got deported, none of this would have ever happened. You're right. Completely right. However, times do change. And the amount of people that are around taking advantage of certain systems that are there, should they be? It's a debate, man. Do you want to pay for other people's stuff? I mean, I know that we already pay for a lot of other people's stuff. A lot of rich people too. Don't get it twisted. I know that we're supporting a lot of rich people that are just feeding off the system. It's going to be there. It just happens. But to rationalize a lot of people coming up from Guatemala, I guess it's 8,000 people. Now, if you look at the number percentage, it's not that many, okay, to let in the United States versus the 300 million that we already have here, okay? Now, hang with me on this. Why do you think they oppose the 8,000 people so much? Maybe 10,000. I believe it's going to be because within that, what's the percentage of the people within those groups? They're going to just bring nothing but more weight and issues within the communities, the states, and the states within the United States. You know, like our communities, this is our culture here, it's our homeland. Okay, and I know you guys some people hate hearing that, but it's true. I mean, keeping borders safe, and if you go about the right way, I mean, I've gone across all the kinds of borders across the world in different countries. I mean, I followed the rules, and I got in there, and I stayed my welcome, and then I left and went back home. And that's how it needs to be done. And I know a lot of European immigrants that have come here, like, illegally, okay? So I get it. And do I want them to stay? I do. Unfortunately, a lot of them went back. Some of them were Middle Eastern people. A couple of people, one of my friends, he lived in Turkey. And he came here and he was doing jiu-jitsu, and then he's all, dude, my visa's up, I gotta go home. And he went home. Did I want him to stay? Yeah. Did he want to stay? Yeah. All my jiu-jitsu friends wanted him to stay. Couldn't. I have another friend, Ariel. He's going back to Brazil. I guess his visa's running out. I think that's what's the case. And he's gonna do what he needs to do. He needs to go back home, and then he can come back here again. And does it suck? Yeah. And do we want him to stay? Yes. But we're going to go about the right way, right? It's just the way it is. It's just the rules. And people breaking rules, yeah, but there's got to be a point of where we start to enforce rules, like where we start to abide, or at least as a community, right? When I say community, you know, like the towns, the cities, everything interlocks, okay? We're all connected somehow. I mean, your city borders up with another city, right? Huntington borders with Fountain Valley and Newport Beach and Westminster. So we have communities that are close to these cities. I can't oust these cities just because I'm a Huntington Beach guy, you know? No, it's like Orange County, and then all of a sudden it becomes a county thing, right? Well, Orange County. Well, then it's like you're next to San Diego, and you're next to Inland Empire, and you're next to Los Angeles County. Well, why not broaden it out? All right, we're all Californians, right? Ooh, go California. But then, you know, we have bordering states. So it's all, yeah, we're all, you know, Americans or states people. United States, right? So the same thing can go worldwide. Now we're countries sitting next to countries, and we're all part of this round globe. Round. Not flat, round. Just my 2 cents. So that being the case, where do you stand on it? Because I got a little flack from some friends. And then I got a lot of laughs. And I think it's not to pick on immigrants. Even though, look, the portion of my friends that are immigrant families that have come from other countries, that were born and naturalized in other countries, that live here now, that I'm close with, that I'm very, very close, that have helped raise me to who I am. That's my whole life. Immigrants have helped raise me. Like literally, Iranian family, Hungarian family. Like those are my 2 friends that they are both from other countries. I don't think my friend Ryan was born in another country. I think he was born here. But regardless, both of his parents, I mean, they were both born in Iran. You know, when Ayatollah was around, and I was hanging out, and like they were listening to a lot of Iranian news, and I would remember the Shah and all this stuff, like all the stuff that was going on, you know, and then the capture of I was a little bit young, it was 76, I think 77, when they captured those hostages. It might have been 79, but I remember watching TV with that. But I didn't know Ryan and his family until I turned like 11 or 12, and we became best friends, and I used to go to his house every day and eat all the cultured food and just learn about the Iranian culture. And to hear somebody who's Iranian and speak Farsi, it's not out of the ordinary for me. I'm cool, and I'm not thinking that they're terrorists, okay? But I know that there's terrorists out there. Mexicans. Like, again, my family, man. If we go to some Mexican meets, man, like meetups, come. You'll see. It's these guys. We got sombreros. We got guitars. No, but seriously, there's some heavy Mexican culture, and not 2 removed or 3 removed generations from the country. We're like right now, people that even still live in Mexico. A good portion of the people that I work with are Mexican. I've supported work visa Mexicans. Came here for work visa, have to go back to Mexico, reestablish, come back out and do their work visa again. Like, I've done that. Have I supported illegal aliens? Probably. I've done the Home Depot trips before. I've had the Mexican people here go and talk to the Mexican people at the Home Depot. And it's worse. They charge us actually more if the Mexican guys go and then get them. They want $20 an hour. And if I go, usually I can get it for 15. Haven't done it very much, but when we needed labor, needed a helping hand, moving, loading up steel, sweeping a bunch of stuff, it's happened, you know? And a good portion of the people that mow the lawns here, which I don't hire them, but they're all Spanish. You know, are some of them probably mixed? Yeah. Angel, who works here, he's mixed. I mean, you look at him, you think he's like 100% Mexican, but no, he's half white like I am. He just has more of that Mexican, that ethnic, like we talked about, that volume, ethnic volume. So he looks more ethnic. So people would think he's just a Mexican dude, you know, and then he could talk La Raza and all that shit. I mean, he does know Spanish. So that's a huge plus too. The more you're involved in the culture, the more you can identify with it, and more people within that culture or those races can identify with you back. Okay. So again, it's about communication. And sometimes Angel even, you know, sometimes we get into, well, because he lives in Los Angeles, so it's like a different banter. It's a different ideology, you know, and I'm trying to get away from ideologies because I know that they're bad. You know, but we get stuck in these. So sometimes it's good to just decompress. I had to sit here and look at you guys and talk to you guys and say, okay, where do you stand on the immigration? Am I being a bigot or a racist because I want to hold my borders tight? I don't believe so. I don't. I feel like I have too pure of a heart. I don't look at this. Like, how's this? People who get tattooed, heavily tattooed, is it hard for you to look at them? Dude, I'll scan it, but I'm so used to tattoos that I try to see the people, like who's behind the eyes and talking to me in that soul. And yeah, you have art, but when there's a first interaction, second interaction, I focus on the person, you know, I really do. Am I going to notice that they have tattoos? Of course. Sometimes will I stare at them? Not to be rude, but sometimes if something catches my eye, yeah. So some say somebody has buttermilk dark skin or whatever, will it catch my attention? Probably. Or if they're really dark, real black, like super black person. Do you trip out on super, super black people? I trip out on the fact that we're so diverse. Not trip in a negative way, just trip like tall people too. I trip on tall people. I trip on small people. And when I mean I trip, I start to think about all of what they go through. What are the nuances that they deal with that I don't deal with because I'm who I am? And they're so different. So about differences in culture, man, I'm wide open to it. It's awesome. It makes it cool. The diversity of friends is so awesome. Man, I mean, literally, I got friends from all around the world, okay? I grew up with an Ethiopian family, too, Mark Atacho. His dad was a consulate. I think, was he a consulate? He's, no, I think Kasim's dad was part of the consulate for Guyana. So, again, immigrants. Man, I got nothing, no problem with immigrants, family is immigrants. Dude, all my European immigrants, too. That was only one removed from my grandmother. My grandmother's mom and dad, the Sabakers, they all came from Czechoslovakia and different parts of Europe, former Czechoslovakia. So very, very rich blood. And then my DNA shows that I have about 22% European blood. Like strict, just white blood, okay? Which isn't very much. I'm pretty ethnic. I'm actually very culturally, ethnically put together. If you look at my DNA, 23andMe, man, I'm 5% black. Like, and everyone says, well, we're all black. Oh, we all come from Africa. Yeah, but if you look at where my parental genes come at the time, they give you a timeline on 23andMe. You're talking 17 and 1800s that my family genetic line was coming from East Africa and West Africa, and then coming up in through like Morocco into Spain, and then, you know, those western parts of Europe, and then flowing over into North America. Because they have data, right? So they're getting all this data and they put together, and this algorithm is showing, and the more it'll change, it'll probably converge a little bit more because the more data that comes in. But so far, this is what it's showing. 17 to 1800s, I've got a lot of 5% of my parental genes come from Africa, man. And that's legit. Am I African? Sure. I'm also Mexican. I'm also Spanish. I'm also probably a lot of Moroccan, because it said like a lot of Eastern, Middle Eastern. Not too much, but there was like about 4.5%, I think. I have Native American, like 12% Native American. And when they say Native American, doesn't just mean you have a feather in your hair. Okay, you guys. American. It's not the United States. Again, I have troubles with people on this. We talk about. I have legitimate conversations about why so many people refer to the United States. Just that one thing with the Alaska and some Hawaii. And we'll forget about Puerto Rico because we never mentioned them, right? We just own them, whatever. It's a whole nother subject. Why do we say this is America? Because it's the United States of America, right? But then all of a sudden everyone just says this is America. It really robs these other countries of where they're from too. It'd be like not suggesting that one of the European countries is not part of the European area, Europe. I don't want to say the European Union because I don't like that union shit, but it is. It's a European Union, but that's the political side. I'm talking about from a geographical area. And again, it probably all ties into political at the end of the day because people fight wars over borders. Hence, we get back to the ICE thing, right? Countries fight wars over borders. This is something inherent in the nature of civilization and of humans. We don't have a problem cohesively merging, but when people just want to take over, people have a hard time with that shit. Again, it's hierarchy. You can't just come over and take over. We can invite you over. And I always say we can invite you, meaning if a hierarchy is established, doesn't matter what it is, and something comes into associated with it, there has to be some type of open exchange of an acceptance, right? Otherwise, it's just, it can't just be one side. It's got to be both sides. So, you know, these are debates that we're going to have to probably go into some deep, deep thought as a country. I know a lot of people just say, open them up, let these people come in, whoever it is, whoever these people are, whatever it is. Like, if you're from Europe, you're from South America, you're from wherever, you think that the only port of entry is going to be at the United States borders, you're sorely, sorely mistaken. These people are coming from all other areas. Why? Because they don't hold as much value on their border controls as the United States does. Now, it doesn't say all the countries are like that. I'm just saying that a good portion of the countries that are out there, it's a little easier to finagle, you know, a little slip of some cash, a little no. It goes on here too, man. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying I think it's a little bit more watched here. It's a little more strict. Like there's more referees on the playground, if you will. You know, whereas in other countries, it's just a little easier to probably get through. And again, there's always an exception to the rule. But this comes down to, you know, the red and the blue, right? The red blue team, Crips blood. This is like the Confederates and the Confederates and the, what was the North and the South? The Confederates and the, what was the other one? The Union, right? The Union and the Confederates, right? So the Confederates wanted, again, comes down to when we had really bad times as a country. That was a civil war. Civilians, people who living next to each other, sharing property, sharing wealth, sharing family, all these intermixing things, and it just takes a couple people to not like that. and to really erupt from the internal parts of the families, from friends. Like, this starts at those low levels, you guys. When we start to dispute and bicker and fight back and forth with one another on certain subjects, and we let it get out of hand, and we don't listen to the other people, and we don't put in our own eyes to ourselves, this is where it becomes tricky. This is where it starts to implode. And these little fragmentations of, like, civil aptitude, if you will, like people kind of getting along with each other, start to break down. Because now we don't give a shit if we want to offend you, because we're going to try to offend you. Because now we, and I say we, it's like anybody who's having these crazy interactions, you know. I see the left, the right, you got liberals, you got the Democrats, you got the heavy Republicans. Like, that's just a whole game in itself. And then you get people outside that don't even follow politics, okay, that want to just live a life like, hey, why can't we just, I don't follow that, because why can't we just live our lives? We can. You're going to have to listen to other people's rules that they try to implement. It's just the way it goes, man. If you don't want to be a part of the process, cool, but you're going to have to deal with it. So get out and vote. This November 6th. I know a lot of people say it's bullshit. Whatever. It's more bullshit to talk shit and not vote than to talk shit and vote. You want to talk shit, you want to bring up points, you want to bring up your end, why this guy or Harley Ruda or whoever is better or worse, you know, then go out and vote, and then we can discuss. And I think we should discuss these things. It's important. This is one of the things I wanted to discuss on the podcast was, all I've been hearing is slander ads day and night. In fact, Harley Ruda is one of the people I know because of the slander. All I hear is negative shit about this guy, Harley Ruda. And it's almost to the point where now I want to fucking vote for the guy. Because he's the one that stands out, Harley Ruda. Because he outsourced to other countries for business. I mean, shit, dude, that's fair game. It's not against the law. And what does that say about his character? I don't know. I mean, these are business decisions. There's tons of businesses that outsource. Ultimately, even though I like to source all United States products, sometimes I source Chinese products. Sometimes I source Brazilian products. Sometimes I source Argentinian products. I don't know how that's going with Argentina right now, but some of these products are coming from these areas that my distributors get. Well, that means that we're doing business with them. Ultimately, if their product is ultimately coming onto port and I'm purchasing, it comes into my products and I'm using foreign product, right? So I guess there's a balance, right? We all have to have a balance. And you really need to look at and check yourself. If you're on the far right, like heavy right, like crazy right, you start talking about the immigrants, you talk about foreign this and foreign that, look at the things that you purchase, okay, and the things you use. Now, that might be your point. Well, that's my point. Everything I got is from, Asia, from one of them chinks, one of them slant eyes. They be making these things, or I got something from some other place down in Mexico, all cheaply made down in those parts. That guy. That's who I'm talking to. I get the point. But there's also a lot of good quality stuff made in the United States. And yes, it's going to be more expensive. And that's the point. It's going to be more expensive. So you either buy it or you don't. Your dollar is going to dictate what goes on. That's how the free market system works. Capitalism. You don't like something, you're not going to buy it, then there you go. It goes down the toilet. Now, there's a lot of nuances with that. Yeah, again, conspiracy theory people talk about, well, they're brainwashing your head and they're doing all this stuff, and then they're doing the ads and they're doing the culture, the thing on the magazines. Yeah. That's why you need to teach your friends and teach your loved ones, or teach at least your kids to think for themselves, critically think, ask questions. Don't go along with just everything for the sake of going along with it. Now, if it sounds pragmatic, maybe check your work. It may sound pragmatic, and then you check your work and you go, shit, this isn't. What I mean by check your work is like, talk with some other people about it. Maybe talk with a couple professionals. Maybe Google the thing. Maybe watch a couple videos. Maybe read a book. Maybe get involved in finding somebody who's involved in these things that you want to experiment with, okay, that you want to embark on, whatever it could be, But know what you're talking about, and inform yourself as much as you can. This podcast is helping me inform myself a tremendous amount. Again, I do a lot of international business, and these are coming from areas of serious, a serious will to understand where people come from mentally, and why so much anger gets exposed from each one of us, especially in the far left. I think the far left gets really, really, really angry because their foundation's kind of crumbling. And I say they, you might be out there just going, who is this guy talking about the far left? Yeah, the far left, man, they're out of whack. Just like that far right. I've talked about this before. The far right and the far left, man, they need to check yourselves. And there's somewhere in the middle is where to be, okay? It doesn't have to be pinpoint, but there's a nice little boundary in the middle where you can have some leftist theory, leftist thought, and some right theory and right thought, right, left hemispheres, man. That's just how it works. So if you think about your left and right hemisphere of your brain and how you can battle yourself within your head and the different viewpoints you can have, you can definitely, I know, listen, you think about something enough, you are going to ponder whether you should buy the car, ponder whether you should marry the woman, ponder whether you should have a kid, ponder if you should take the job, ponder whether you need to get up or sleep in. Like you're battling, right? The angel and the devil. It doesn't matter. It could be on either side. Angel and the devil can swap shoulders. Okay, so there's more than just you out there. Okay, you have other parts of you. You have what Jordan Peterson describes as avatars you put out there to make a discussion with yourself, whether or not to go down a path, or whether or not to make a certain decision, or not to make a decision, which is ultimately a decision in itself. So much. I know I'm speaking fast. I've had a couple of these full of coffee, and the sun is already out, and it's about, 9 something. No, it's not 9. It's about 8. And the day's going. So more and more cars will start coming down the road, and then I'm going to lose my audio, All right. Is that good? Nice and loud. All right, guys, check out Louder with Crowder. Steven Crowder, that guy is funny. He did a live podcast last night. We watched it, me and Lalava, and we were laughing. It's pretty funny. He's pairing up with Owen Benjamin. It's like these two big guys. Owen Benjamin's like 6'9", 6'8". He's a big, tall guy. And then I think Louder with Crowder, he's 6'4". He's no small slouch either. So they're really, really big dudes, and they have a presence, man, and they're funny as shit. Owen Benjamin, he's a comic. You might have seen him. He plays really good piano, and he makes a comic skit. He's not the skinny dude. The guy starts with a J. He's not that guy, not the skinny little white guy that does. No, he's a big, brawny white dude. They call him the pianist. Because they laugh because they say he has a big dick. 6'8", 6'9". Of course, he's got a big dick. All right, guys. I'm not going to end on the dicks part, though. We're going to end on a good note. We're going to end on Halloween. What are you going to dress up as? Are you going to go in as a cup of coffee? Louder Crowder cup? Mug club? Join his mug club. I'm promoting the Louder with Crowder podcast. How's that? Check out the Topsnap podcast. I should make some mugs. Make some mugs out there for you guys. Mugs, shirts. I'm working on all that. I know I skipped ahead. This podcast is like number 64, 65. I apologize. I'm still editing all these other podcasts from the Bully Show, so it's a little embarrassing when I don't get these things done on time. But living a life. All right, you guys. Thank you for watching and tuning in. I get to watch all these awesome cars come through here. A 426. Was that a Dodge Coronet? I think that was. This just rolled through. It seems like everywhere I have a business in Orange County, the best cars roll through here. I get to see so much awesomeness, man. I'm very blessed. I'm a very blessed person. Even though my life is filled with trials and tribulations, I am blessed for my life. I have an affirmation that I will keep on going, persevering, conquering, getting everything out of this world that this world has to give me. No excuses, no pain, no gain, right? I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in if you're watching this. Hope I didn't take too much of your time. Let's go out on some taiko. Topsnap Podcast. Check us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, and on Instagram. Topsnap Podcast. Love you guys. Jody Middick, Unflinching, the making of a Canadian sniper. It's out in bookstores now. Check it out on Amazon. Buy it. Buy a copy.